What's up, everyone? Happy holidays. Welcome to Better Plays Ahead, powered by the Game Day. This is where we break down each slate of the NFL season. We're on to week 17. As always, stay tuned to the end of the episode where we'll give our favorite Thursday night football picks in this ugly one between the Jets and Browns. I'm joined, as always, by Sam Wagman. Sam, what's up, man?
I'm doing well. I was telling you before the show, the only reason I know what day of the week it is because we have NFL football tonight. We're at that point of the regular season, but I'm excited to break down this week 17 slate for you.
Yeah, plus that period between like Christmas and New Year's Eve, it's like every day is just a big blob of days where you're just kind of relaxing. But we're on to another slate of NFL action. But before we start off the show, I got to remind the listeners, head over to thegameday.com, check out our promotions at FanDuel that you could use at the many markets at one of the best sports books in the industry. So let's start off with the chalkboard. This is the segment where we discuss one of our favorite public teams of the week. And you like a divisional game in the NFC North. You're riding the Packers as short road underdogs against the Vikings. How come?
Yeah, and this line has moved to +1 since the news that Jaren Hall was announced as the starter for the Vikings, replacing Nick Mullins. It's not often that we see someone pass for over 400 yards and then get benched the very next week. But then again, the Vikings are a poverty football organization. So, that's stuff that we expect from them. Anyways, Hall is, obviously a big decision in this as well. I kind of expected him to start this week. There have been a lot of rumors that the Vikings wanted to see what he has. Obviously, Nick Mullins is no way, a future answer. He's a stopgap at best. He's, a bridge quarterback at worst. And Hall, is an exciting rookie who they gave a shot back to about a month ago, and then he went out and got a concussion right away in the first quarter, which obviously led to the Josh Dobbs Linsanity run that he had for a little bit of a while there. But anyways, Hall is back. He's back healthy. He's going to start this game against the Packers. And, this is a little bit of an interesting spot for the Packers here. No TJ Hawkinson, no Jordan Addison. Hawkinson out with an ACL and MCL tear for the rest of the season. And Addison is obviously week to week with his ankle sprain. So the Vikings are without two of their top three top three pass catchers there. So that presents an issue for Hall in his first game. He'll only have Justin Jefferson and no Jair Alexander either for the Packers in this game, but I still expect them to focus coverage on Justin Jefferson, try and make things a little bit difficult for him. And, KJ Osborne and Brandin Powell have to kind of carry the load for Minnesota there. But we've seen a little bit of resurgence from this Packers offense that has struggled, been really up and down at times during Jordan Love's inaugural season as the starter. But everything's kind of been on a high. Aaron Jones coming off his best rushing week of the season with 133 rushing yards last week. If Christian Watson's able to make it back this week, that could be interesting as well. Jaden Reed should be able to make it back this week. Romeo Doubs had a good week last week. You got Tucker Kraft as well down there. That'll be really interesting for the Packers. But I think in this really tight divisional matchup where I think Brian Flores' defense kind of might take a little bit of a step back with the new quarterback under center, there might be, a little bit more pressure on that defense to kind of step up and do their thing. I think the Packers kind of take a little bit of advantage of that. They are trying to still fight for a playoff spot, interestingly enough there. So nothing's quite determined in the NFC yet. Both the Minnesota Vikings and the Packers are both 7-8 here. Both are on the cusp of the NFC playoff race. So I could see a spot where Green Bay is able to take advantage. Both the bets and the money are in their favor, both around 65% right now. So it should be interesting. This qualifies as a chalky play, so give me Green Bay in this spot.
Yeah, it really comes down to we don't know what to expect from Jaren Hall. Nick Mullins turned the ball over a lot, but like you said, he threw for 400 yards. He kept it close relatively against the Lions. They almost beat the Bengals. So we sort of knew more what to expect with him, and we don't with Jaren Hall. And so that really leans me towards the Packers as well. I'm with you. I think they avoid the season sweep. They lost the first matchup against the Vikings, and they keep their playoff hopes alive in the NFC wildcard race. Let's move on to it's a trap. This is where we look at a line that may at first look a little fishy, but it's fishy for a reason. So you look at the Jaguars, they're at home against the Panthers, they're -6.5 favorites. You might think like Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. This is a get right spot for the Jaguars. But I actually like Carolina +6.5 as underdogs here. And it comes down for a number of reasons. The first one, the Panthers are playing better under interim head coach Chris Tabor. They're 3-1 against the spread. They beat the Falcons. They almost came back against the Packers, and they covered against Tampa Bay. And the Jaguars are really struggling. Since their week 9 bye, they're 2-5. They're currently on a 4-game losing streak. During this 7-game stretch, they're -49 in point differential. And Trevor Lawrence is banged up. He practiced today, he limited practice, but we've seen that he's suited up the last 2 weeks and he really hasn't been himself. So I really don't think that the Jaguars should be getting so many points, even against the Panthers. And hey, Bryce Young played his best game as a pro last week, averaged over 8 yards per attempt, mounting that comeback against the Packers that they came really close to doing. So he found DJ Chark. He started to get him more involved. I think the Panthers could really keep this one close. They're live dogs. I don't trust the Jags laying so many points.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me because, I'm not going to bet on this game because I do have a future on the Colts to win the AFC South. So basically, that serves as me rooting for Panthers to win this game, anyways. That being said, this is a weird spot because you obviously want to get ahead of any Trevor Lawrence injury news, whether he is in or out. This number is going to move each way in the opposite direction. So that'll be interesting to see there. This could be a revenge game for DJ Chark. Panthers going against former Jaguars receiver there. But this could be also a big spot. Even if CJ Beathard ends up having to start in this game, I could see him being able to game manage his way. Having been in the Jaguars system for a long time at this point, he should be able to game manage his way to a win here and a comfortable win at that behind Travis Etienne and Calvin Ridley. So I'm a little bit skeptical. I'm not going to ride with you on this one. I'm not quite sure. I think this line is actually priced relatively fairly. And I'm not sure that I need to see, basically I'm saying I need to see more from the Panthers before I'm willing to take them against Jacksonville, who when healthy is one of the 10 best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I will say I got this earlier in the week at +7, so that's a big difference from +6.5. At least we could push with a 7-point loss. But yeah, definitely understand your concerns. Quick comment in the chat from a friend of the show, Jeff. He's thinking about using Panthers +6.5. It's moving down while we wait for Trevor Lawrence news. I would say you can maybe put it in a parlay with your free $10 bet and buy a point and get the Panthers at +7.5 and maybe pair them with, say, Sam's call where he picked the Packers +2. You could move that up to +3, get him at a key number there, and have a 2-team parlay like that. That could be a choice for you. Moving on to the betting board, this is where we talk about some of our other favorite top picks of the week. Sam, you're going to start us off. I like this one. The Bengals defense gives up a lot of explosive plays. They're on the road against the Chiefs. Tell us why you like Justin Watson over 14.5 longest reception.
Yeah, and this theoretically should be a smash spot for the Chiefs. Yeah. There's no reason why they, should go home to Arrowhead and not be able to blow the Bengals out, who kind of got exposed last week against the Steelers. I'm not really sure if that's the real Bengals that we saw, or it's the Bengals that we saw for the last couple of weeks, but they have been kind of subsisting on those crazy, explosive plays. May not have Jamar Chase in this one again. Still has that separated shoulder. Did some rehab work on a side field yesterday. No word on his practice yet today. Sure, we'll find that out right after the show. but I'm not sure they're going to have him this week. I would bet on them not having him once again. So it's just going to be T. Higgins there. T. Higgins will go up against L'Jarius Sneed. That'll be very tough. But looking at Justin Watson, he's been over this number in 8 of his last 13 games, an 8-5 number on the season. And he's kind of served as their go-to guy down the field in terms of the wide receiver. Rashee Rice has been the guy that works over the middle and, kind of on the boundaries with those quick outs. But Watson's been that guy across the middle for them, lining up, kind of as that X wide receiver. He's a big, bulky guy, 6'4", 215. And the Bengals have allowed 15% explosive play rate. Those are plays that travel over 20 plus air yards downfield. And he's been that guy for them. He sees 19% target share versus press man coverage. And Cincinnati plays the 9th most man in the NFL this season. And they've allowed an explosive play on an above average 15.3% of those drives. So this is definitely a good spot for Watson, who's, definitely been hit or miss at some spots, but when he gets the ball, he moves well with it. And the Chiefs need to win this game, and they need to win it by a lot. So I expect Mahomes to go down the field to Watson at least a couple times here.
Yeah, I love this. Like you said, they just give up so many explosive plays. The Bengals do. We saw it with George Pickens last week. We saw it with Jordan Addison the week before that, and the list goes on. And like you said, Justin Watson has pretty much been the preferred deep threat for the Chiefs. I'm with you on this one. I'm going to add on to the Chiefs later. We're going to pause it and first go to a Saturday game for my next play, and that's Tony Pollard under 54.5 rushing yards. The Lions' run defense is very good. 12 out of 15 lead running backs that Detroit has faced this year have gone under this number, under 54.5. 8 of those 15 running backs didn't even get to 40 rushing yards. Some of the names on that list include Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara. So it's not like, they've faced some really tough running backs and they've held them in check, the Lions have. And we look at Tony Pollard this season, let's face it, he's been one of my biggest misses. I was really high on him coming to the year. He has not been as explosive, whether that's due to last season's injury, whether that's too much workload that he doesn't run as well, as efficiently with too many carries. I don't know, but the fact is he's only averaging 4 yards per carry. That's a decrease of over 1 yard from last year, where I believe he was over 5 yards per carry. I think he's going to have a tough time running against this tough run defense. And at 54.5 rushing yards, that's what his rushing yards prop is pretty much every week. So it's almost like they didn't even adjust it for the fact that the Lions have a tough run defense. So give me Tony Pollard under 54.5 rush yards against the Lions.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me because I'm pretty hesitant to fade any Cowboy at AT&T Stadium, which is the only reason I won't be hopping on this. It's not a good rate at all, but the Cowboys do just play so much better at home. And that's why, it's kind of funny that we both ended up on the same side of 2 games here with our 4 props, which is why I'm going to go also to the Cowboys with my next player prop. I'm going to take Brandin Cooks over 19.5 for his longest reception of the game here. And this is another interesting one for me because the Lions rank 12th in man coverage rate, and Cooks has been the most effective Cowboy against man coverage, which is not a stat I was really expecting to see. He does still beat man coverage at a nice rate. He's got those burner wheels still, coming off the edge there. So it'll be really interesting to see how he flies down the field. Now, another thing that you want to keep in mind that he's only hit this in 5 out of his 14 games this season, but you can beat Detroit deep in man coverage, and they allow an explosive play rate of 15.4%, which again ranks in the top third of the league. I really do like Cooks this week because Detroit, you have to throw to beat Detroit. This game's going to be inside AT&T Stadium. Dak loves to chuck the ball downfield here. Cooks should be able to get one-on-one coverage pretty frequently against this Detroit defense. And something that really caught my eye is that 4 out of the 5 games that Cooks has gone over have been at home. So he's been really good at home here. He's been really good at kind of, getting out of the play, um, just outside, and gets the ball in his hands at home. So I'm going to go with him to have the longest reception here.
Yeah, I love this Brandin Cooks play. I'm on his yards prop for the reason you said. He's much better at home, just like the rest of the Cowboys offenses. Check out these splits. Cooks at home, averaging over 67 receiving yards per game. On the road, that's 19.4. Now, you might say, well, Frank, that includes the 173-yard game against the Giants. True, that brings up the average. But even if we remove that game, Cooks is still averaging 46 yards per game at home compared to 19.4 on the road. And like you said, the Lions are more vulnerable deep. You got to throw on them to beat them. I think Cooks will get loose downfield. I like this prop as well. I'm riding with you here in what should be a high-scoring game. Let's go to my final betting board pick. And we were talking about earlier with the Chiefs. This is a perfect get-right spot. Like you said, they were humbled on prime time on Christmas Day with a pretty embarrassing home loss to the Raiders where they just made so many mistakes. 2 defensive touchdowns for the Raiders cost the Chiefs that game. And we talked about how the Bengals give up so many explosive plays. You look for Patrick Mahomes to have one of his best games of the season. I like him to find Travis Kelce quite often here. The Bengals really struggle defending tight ends. Justin Watson can get loose downfield. Rashee Rice could keep it rolling. I really think the Chiefs pour on points in this one. And we only need them to win by more than a touchdown. Even if they win by 7, we push. But I think they're going to win this one by double digits. Even if Jamar Chase plays, I'm not too worried about that. I think we're seeing it with backup quarterbacks. We've seen so many of them this year. They have a nice little stretch where they're playing well, and then defenses adjust and the magic wears off. I think that's happening with Jake Browning, and I think the Chiefs roll in this one.
Yeah, I definitely am on the side of the Chiefs in this game as well. This is pretty much make or break for them, mindset wise, seating wise, just a lot of things here that they need to keep in mind as they head, down the stretch towards the playoffs. Sitting at 9-6, you really can't afford another loss here. I think that would be their 5th loss in 6 games. Like, it would just be a disaster to lose to yet another very, very beatable team in the Bengals. So I definitely think the Chiefs have a statement game here. This is at Arrowhead Field. I think they'll be ready.
Yeah, love it. Well, we've gone on to the part of the show where we're talking about our Thursday night picks for tonight. We got the Jets versus Browns, really low total. Should be an ugly game. I know we have seen recent Thursday nighters like the Steelers and Patriots with a really low total that flew over the number, but I think this one's going to be low scoring, and you're going to start us off though with an over, and that's on David Njoku, who's been on fire with Joe Flacco. You like Njoku over 5.5 catches?
I do like Njoku over 5.5 catches. He's really the only one that's reliable here. Mari Cooper's dealing with a heel injury, which makes me like this even more. I wanted to get a pick in before any injury news on Amari Cooper came out that he was going to miss the game because that would just put this number over 6 where I don't want to touch it. As it is, you're getting 5.5 at plus 125, so you're getting some nice juice on this play here. And Njoku's hit this in 6 of his last 7 games, and he's averaging 9.1 targets per game since Flacco took over 4 games ago, including a wild 14-target game 2 weeks ago. Njoku has just been a key cog of this offense. He's putting up the production that we always thought Deshaun Watson would give him, but really didn't give him that much of. And Flacco loves to throw the football. His pass rate over expected is one of the highest in the league since he's taken over. And he just, while he's going to make a ton of mistakes, especially possibly against this Jets defense that loves to be aggressive, the Jets are just average against tight ends, ranking 16th against them in DVOA. And they've also allowed 5 tight ends to go over this number on the season. And another Njoku play I really like is for him to get in the end zone as well. The Jets have allowed 8 touchdowns to tight ends on the season, which ranks 2nd in the NFL. and Njoku is, gets a ton of end zone targets and red zone targets as well. So if you're going to take a Cleveland Brown pass catcher, Njoku is the one that I would lean towards.
Yeah, I like this. He's been on fire with Flacco, and the Jets are much tougher on receivers on the perimeter, so that could leave some room for Njoku over the middle. Love that plus 125 value that you're getting. I'm with you on this one. I don't disagree. For my first pick on Thursday Night Football, this one may be a little bit risky with how Joe Flacco is playing. And like you said, the Browns have gone pass heavy, but I'm going under his passing yards prop, 232.5. 10 out of 15 quarterbacks that have faced the Jets have gone under this number. Amari Cooper is banged up with a heel injury. He should probably play, but he's banged up, let's face it. And the Jets rank sixth, and it's a short week. Yeah, he might be just they could hold him out, or he could, not be at his full capacity. And the Jets rank sixth on defense in EPA allowed against the pass. The Browns are 7.5-point favorites, so if they get out to a larger lead, they won't have to air it out as much. I just really think this will be an ugly game, low scoring. The Jets' pass defense could cause Flacco to make some mistakes, and I'm going to go under here. But hey, I will say I've been burned when I've gone under passing yards props because of say at the end of the first half, the team gets the ball with like 15 seconds left, and they get a useless few completions. I mean, nothing had the yardage total. Things like that could happen. So I understand the risk, but I'm still going to go under on Flacco here.
Yeah, it's tight with him. You always have to expect he's going to chuck the ball a lot. But I do think that the Browns are going to lean on their defense and the running game in this one a lot more than the pass. So I don't expect them to have a lot of deep passing plays either.
Yeah, so for your next play, and this one I love too, it's Breece Hall over 4.5 catches. Why do you like it?
Well, first of all, it's another plus money play, so I really love the value that, again, you're getting here. But he's been over in 5 of his last 6 games. He's been, just the check down machine from Trevor Siemian. Really last week, not as much in the first game that Siemian played, where he only had 1 catch on 2 targets. But last week he had 12 catches on 14 targets, has absolutely been a weapon in that regard. Looks to be fully recovered from his ACL injury. We have nothing that suggests that he's held back at all by that anymore. So I really like the fact that Simeon's kind of been a dump off magnet. A lot of his passes have been at or behind the line of scrimmage. Since he took over. It's one of the reasons why I also like Siemian to not throw a completion over 30.5 yards tonight. But back to Breece Hall, he's just been one of the absolute weapons for this offense, been one of the main reasons that they're able to put up points in their last few games. But he is going to be the guy that moves the ladder for this team, especially with that Cleveland defensive line. It's going to put him under tons of pressure on nearly every down. He'll have to bail out at least a few times to Breece Hall. And I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jets in a spot later in this game where they're just checking it down most of the game because they're down and just want quick passing.
Yeah, love it. Love what Breece Hall is doing in the passing game. Trevor Siemian has been a check down machine. And if you want a bonus play, I'd even say Trevor Siemian over, it went up to 18.5, but I got it 17.5 over completions for Trevor Siemian because he's so close to his passes are so close to the line of scrimmage. He checks it down. That could be another bonus option. But for my other main play that I like, is Amari Cooper under 58.5 receiving yards. This has gone down because I got this one before there were questions around his injury. But now he's questionable with the heel injury. He's taking on a Jets team that is allowing the fewest receiving yards per game to wide receivers. So really that's all it comes down to. Just an ugly, low-scoring game against a good pass defense. I know Amari Cooper just has been balling out with Joe Flacco, but we can't just assume that he did good the last couple games that he's going to as well here. The matchup is different. He's more banged up. It's an outdoor game. Last week was indoor. There's a lot of variables to consider, and I like Amari to go under 58.5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is This is an interesting one for me because it's tough. How can you take a guy's under after he just put up
Yeah.
265 yards less than a week ago? It's very tough. But that Jets cornerback room, they're for real, and he's hurt. So this is not the Houston Texans cornerback room. So it'll be tough for him to get there. I actually do think if he plays, he does get there. Unfortunately, just a little bit over because I think they're gonna want to move the ball in this one. I think we're gonna see some plays where he just barely gets across. I don't think he goes over by too much. But I do think this, especially at the line where it is now, it's 53.5. I think he gets to that. So
Yeah, I totally get the concerns.
there's definitely a middle opportunity for you here, honestly, to take over 53.5 and hope he kind of lands at that 55, 56 number.
That's an interesting thing. So for those who don't know, middle is when if you got earlier in the week, let's say under 58.5, and now it's at 53.5, and you take the over and you hope it lands between 54 and 58 yards. You could win both bets. That's a good idea for sure. I'll see. I'll think about if I'll do it. But hey, I get your concerns for sure here. He put over 250 yards last week. This is the kind of bet that you could, after watching the game, be like, why the hell did I take the under? Like Amari Cooper just did. He's just been on fire. Why would I do that? But yeah, nonetheless, the matchup is tough, and I'm going to go under. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out all of Sam and I's content at the game day. We got the fantasy football newsletter. We got fantasy football rankings, daily content, betting, everything you can ask for. Go to the game day to check out our FanDuel promotions, and follow us on social as well. And Sam, you got anything you want to close out with?
No, obviously we will still be back here with you guys throughout the rest of the entire NFL season. We're not going anywhere, despite the fact that it is the second to last week of the regular season. We will be right back here again next week and the week after that, and all the way through the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, enjoy your New Year's, and we'll see you in